Senator Slotkin.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for our meeting yesterday. Over here, I'm at the bottom of the dais. Thank you for our meeting yesterday. I appreciated your time, and the issues I asked you about in my office are going to be the same issues I asked you here. You have a background representing and working with the crypto industry, $1 trillion industry. And my issue is just oversight and making sure that I can turn back to Michiganders and say, if you're going to make the decision to invest in crypto, you are safe. You're not going to be scammed. You're not going to be defrauded out of that money. The CFTC, since the 1930s, was set up as a 5-commissioner body. 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and then whoever is in power gets the chairmanship. We're all working on a market structure bill. I voted on a version of that bill in the House, but that's when we had 5 commissioners who created this push and pull, this greater sense of oversight. And if confirmed, you'll be the only one on this body. So can you help me understand? I know you said yesterday and today you want to hear from different views. That's good. Debate team, heard the whole thing. Do you support 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans being with you on this commission?
Thank you, Senator. As you know, and as I mentioned yesterday, of course, I do very much appreciate having different viewpoints, hearing from everyone at the table, of course. As I mentioned as well yesterday and earlier today, it is the president's decision to nominate candidates to be
But what would your advice to him be? I mean, you're going to be the guy hanging out there by yourself, right? And this administration has kind of systematically dismantled independent commissions. The FTC, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the National Labor Relations Board, they've been dismantled. So here we have a new industry, crypto, very, very kind of up and coming. And I'm supportive of figuring out good regulation. But would your advice to him be like, hey, man, give me some balance here so I have the ability to say this is an independent body? What's your advice to the president on this issue?
Well, Senator, I would certainly respect the president's decision on these issues. My role and my job, if confirmed as chairman, is to fulfill the agency's mission. And I believe that mission is best fulfilled when we have a diversity of viewpoints coming from wherever we can find those viewpoints.
I get that, and good. But I'm just saying, for those of us who want to get to yes on a market structure bill, who want to be proactive, having some sense that there's some oversight, that it isn't just going to be you vulnerable to the pressure of the president as the only one there, is something that I think many of us will be watching, certainly me. On sports events contracts, Senator Booker can talk all about New Jersey he wants. We're the number 2. Michigan is the number 2 online casino and sports betting state, 74 million annually. The tribes and our licensed sports prediction markets are the ones who control that. My understanding is that the CFTC regulations are clear on this issue, that sports contracts shouldn't be allowed because they are equivalent to betting, right, to gambling. In your opinion, should sports event contracts be listed through the CFTC?
Thank you, Senator. As I mentioned, this is a really complicated issue. It's an interpretive question that's working its way through the courts, and so I will respect the decisions of those courts. I also am very interested to work with this committee to the extent that there are views that we need to change anything in the statute. But this is ultimately a question for the courts, and as a chairman of an agency, I will always look to the views of the courts and to Congress. As the Supreme Court has said in the Loper-Bright decision, the deference of the agency is limited. We have to look to the courts.
Okay, I appreciate that. You had said yesterday you hadn't met with the tribes. I encourage you to meet with the people who are in this business and just have, again, if you appreciate alternative views, it shouldn't be hard to meet with these folks. President Trump announced that he's launching his own Truth Predict that would basically support event contracts and that they be traded. If the president asks you for a carve-out or an exception so that Truth Predict can be listed, how will you respond?
Senator, I will always uphold the law and stick to the law. I mean, to the extent that the president were to, in compliance with this ethics rule, submit an application, he would go through the same process as everyone else.
That is true. I would hope that you would be very careful about exceptions and the perception of graft, and because he's invented this thing, and you'd be the only guy in the hot seat that he'd have to get an exemption from. So we'll hold you to that. Thank you, Chairman, and I yield back.